All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast weekly real estate tip, where every single week I come to you sharing different tips, tactics, and strategies that I've learned in my 20-plus year-long real estate journey that have allowed me to become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet, with selling well over 7,000 homes, and sharing this information with you in hopes that you take this information in, that you take massive action on it, and go out there and create that real estate business and life that you truly know that you want and deserve. All right, so today I'm here to talk to you about how to convert cold leads with proven follow-up techniques and overall strategies to, again, ensure that you are maximizing and optimizing on your lead conversions. And this is extremely important in the era that we are in. Look, easy street is over. 2012 to about mid-2022, 2023-ish, depending on what market that you are in. Longest bull market in recorded history, longest real estate expansion in recorded history, longest economic expansion in recorded history. That was just easy street. There was so much low-hanging fruit. It was just kind of this perfect scenario where, look, you could be an amateur. You could kind of show up, just wing it, kind of show up, kind of be consistent, kind of work hard, go out there and make multiple six figures. Well, those days are gone. Those days are over, and we will probably never see an era like that again for the rest of our entire careers. Again, that was the first time that we've seen that since the inception of the United States. So the probability of seeing that again is very, very slim. So right now, again, all that low-hanging fruit has dried up. Right now, we are now amongst one of the most competitive times that we've ever seen amongst our industry. So now we got to be on our A game. We got to make sure that we have our overall processes, when it comes to our follow-up processes. We've got to make sure that we have the right plan, the right process, got to make sure that we have the right skill sets, all of those things in place to ensure that we're optimizing and maximizing on our lead conversions. All right, so I got 6 steps, 6 tips for you on how to convert cold leads into clients. So let's dive on in. Okay, so tip number 1 for you, making sure that you've got your world-class buyer and world-class listing presentation in place. Now, when most people think of lead gen and lead follow-up, they're thinking of just setting appointments. But here's the reality of our industry, is that we are in a 2-step sales process inside of our industry. So a 2-step sales process. So, okay, all of your lead gen and lead follow-up exists to set the appointment, but you don't want to put all that time, energy, and effort into that just to get to the appointment and then risk flopping that appointment. You got to be good at both. Yeah, you got to be good at your ability to generate leads, got to be good at your ability to follow up those leads, convert them into appointment, but you also got to be damn good at converting those appointments into clients, into customers, so you can go out there and get more customers, AKA then lead to more commission checks. And again, I know that this is all stuff that you already know and probably understand, but it's so damn important. Why I mean world-class is, look, you should be converting at a minimum 85%. Like with my coaching clients and my agents, I really want to see them at that 90% threshold or above on their buyer consults and listing presentations. That's what I mean by world-class presentation. So you got to make sure that you know what the overall process is, that you've dialed it in, that you're practicing it, so you have the confidence at delivery of it, and so forth. So getting that dialed in. Okay, so then recommendation or step number 2 is understanding the timeline per lead source. So now we're going to get into, okay, what do you need to do to really maximize your ability to set more appointments, right? So the next step of these are really going to talk about that, right? So with your overall lead follow-up, with this, and we're talking about cold leads. So these are people that don't know you. One of the things when I'll talk to some realtors that have been doing this for maybe a little bit of time, but most of their business, has been repeat referral business, and they don't have these things dialed in, because it's like, look, it's a whole different game when you go to cold leads that do not know who the hell that you are. And the general perception of the general public of realtors is very damn low. Right? Like we are the lowest on the totem pole on the likability index. Like you got firefighters at the top, realtors at the bottom. We are below used car salesmen. We are below attorneys. And look, if you look at the narrative out there, like go watch TV shows, go watch movies, they always portray the realtor as being this total sleazy, douchey, scumbag. And that's the general public perception of us. So you got these cold leads that don't know who the hell that you are. They don't know, like, and trust you yet. They have a negative perception of you. So it becomes a whole different game at converting cold leads into appointments and customers and clients, versus repeat referral business, warm introductions and things of that nature. So, okay, then based on each different lead source that you are doing, you need to identify what the timeline per lead source is. And what I mean by this is, okay, from lead inception into an average of when that lead becomes a client. Now, this is going to be the law of averages. So, it's like, okay, if I'm doing a ton of Facebook leads as an example, if I'm doing enough volume, I'm going to get lucky and pop some deals, pretty quickly. But the average Facebook lead that is in my CRM is in there for 6.7 months before becoming a customer. Excuse me. So this becomes really important. Every single lead source is going to have a variance in what their timeline is. The reason we need to know this is you need to make sure that you have a long enough follow-up protocol to go out there, maximize and optimize those conversions, right, for that specific lead source. So that to understand that timeline, make sure that, okay, we know that we are nurturing and following up on a long enough time period with enough frequency to be able to maximize on this lead source. So like with the Facebook lead as an example, and again, all these are going to be different. I mean, right now, I'm doing like a dozen different things collectively as a team to go out there and generate business. And each one of those dozen different things that we are doing for lead gen and lead follow-up, okay, all of those have different timelines. So you got to know what that timeline is so you can make sure you've got a long enough follow-up protocol. So with a Facebook lead, like, it would not make sense for me just to call for a week and then be like, oh, no, okay, on to the next. Oh, no, on to the next. Oh, no, on to the next. I mean, your average realtor follows up with a lead 2 times. Overall lead source. They call and follow up twice before they abandon it. And then they moan and whine about how that lead source, wasn't effective and whatever. That is not enough energy, effort, and frequency to really convert any type of a lead source that's out there, and to maximize and optimize on it, right? So if you look at your average lead source as an example, now I'm just kind of compiling all of them. These are all going to be different, but if we just look as an average, just to give you a baseline, okay, your average lead is going to be 60 reach outs, 6 conversations, 1 appointment set. Now, depending on what the strategy is, your process and your skill set, you might be able to cut that in half, but I'm just talking about averages. In most situations, it takes a lot less leads than people think, but a hell of a lot more frequency and reach outs to maximize conversions than most realtors account for. So you got to know timeline. Okay, number 3 is understanding the psychology per lead source. So we understand timeline. That allows us to know how long and how frequent to follow up to maximize conversions and in which mediums, phone call, text, email, and so forth. The psychology then allows us to know, okay, what does our messaging need to be? Like, okay, now I know how long and how frequent and what mediums I need to be following up. But then now I got to know, okay, how do I need to speak to this particular lead? Because it's going to be different. If we look on the seller side, okay, how I speak to a FSBO is way different, and how I follow up in my conversation with a FSBO is way different than, let's just say, an expired, way different than a referral, way different than an absentee owner, way different than a Facebook lead. How I speak to a Zillow lead is different than a Google pay-per-click lead or open house lead. Some of them could be similar, but then sometimes there can be massive variances. So understand the psychology of a lead source. That's just your understanding of what's going on in their head. So that way you can make sure that you have a message match, right? So like if I spoke to a Facebook lead the same way that I do a Zillow or a Realtor.com lead, I'm going to freak them the hell out because they're a longer term nurturer. They are just browsing right now. Now, if we do it right, like it's some of the best ROI that I've ever seen in my career with Facebook leads. And part of that's because cost per lead is so inexpensive and they're so forth with that. But dude, if I was with the same aggressiveness that I am with the Zillow, Realtor.com, Realty.com, kind of any of these, kind of modern day online sites that have replaced the sign call, the kind of the modern day sign calls, I would freak them the hell out. And I would have low conversions. So you got to understand psychology because this allows you to craft your messaging. So your scripting, your messaging, regardless whether that be email, text, phone calls, and so on, right? Okay, so then number 4 is understanding that appointments get set on the phones. Look, I don't care if your business is inbound, outbound, however it's coming in. Everybody's got different preferences, and maybe you have a combination of all of it, but it doesn't matter what the lead source is. Appointments get set on the phones. So you gotta work the phones. You gotta get good on the phones. Now I'm just gonna walk you through my universal frameworks on the phone. Okay, so and when I talk about frameworks, I'm talking really here about understanding objectives. Because yes, I have scripts for every little thing, every little process, every little protocol, inside my real estate business. And the reason why I do that is to ensure that things don't get forgotten, number one. But number two, look, I got to be able to bring in brand new agents fresh out of school. So like brand new real estate agents fresh out of school, I got to be able to recruit them, bring them in, and get them making 20, 30 G's a month after 6 months within joining my team. So then from there, I got to make sure that they have world-class proven scripts and processes to plug right into to make that a reality. Because I gotta turn around a noob and go from like an amateur noob to a pro, like boom, in record time, right? So in order to do that, yeah, I've got all my playbooks here, that I walk them through. So yeah, I got scripts for every little thing, but then with that, personally, I want to get off scripts as soon as possible. The reason why I have all those in place is I never want one of my agents or coaching clients to be in a scenario situation where they don't know what to do. But true pros don't need to operate off of scripts because they know the overall objectives. Because if you've been ever operating off of scripts, now if you haven't ever operated scripts, okay, then you're probably, you're gonna have that much more resistance. But if you start operating off of scripts, you very quickly realize that, man, things go off script very, very quickly. So then from there, when I understand and I master the overall objectives, then now I know I can script jump and I know how to bring them back to what the goal is. Objective is just another word for goal. Okay. So objective of initial call, that first initial conversation with any lead or prospect. I don't care if it's inbound, outbound, whatever, and again, these are just my universal objectives, right? Is to identify their goal, identify their timeline, set the appointment if able or appropriate. But if unable or appropriate, because now I know their goal and their timeline, now I know then how to set my ongoing follow-up calls to maximize conversions for if and when they are ready. So I know that initial conversation, I got to do everything I can to identify their goal, identify their timeline, set appointment if able or appropriate. If unable or appropriate, because I know goal and timeline, now I know how to follow up appropriately to maximize their conversions or maximize conversions for if and when they are ready in the future, right? So if you want to get damn good at conversions, like you got to get good at the immediate game, like meaning that the people that are, ready to hot to trot, right? Like that immediate business. You also got to get damn good at the mid game, and then you got to get damn good at the long game. So it's like, okay, like whether they're ready to go now or they're ready to go in 6 years, like, dude, I got a game plan where I'm going to maximize those conversions. And then over time, this just compounds where your conversions just start to explode through the roof. Okay, then from there, the objective of every ongoing call is to build and deepen rapport, AKA connection, right? To get them to know you, like you, trust you, right? So build and deepen rapport and connection, and then reconfirm goal, timeline, set appointment if able or appropriate, if unable or appropriate, because now we've reconfirmed goal and timeline, or if there's any adjustments there, adjust that accordingly to maximize conversions for if and when they're ready. So now that I know those objectives, now I know how to handle every single call, every single experience, and set myself up for that next experience with them. Now, part of understanding the objectives of the calls and going to, the previous point that I said on point number 3 of understand psychology so we can know that messaging. This really comes down to skill set in understanding. So when we understand that messaging and we understand, because it's not just messaging, it's not just scripting, it's also understanding tonality, pre-frames, things that you've heard me talk about so much on this podcast. But I'm just here to tell you right now, like if you do not know how to pre-frame a conversation appropriately, if you do not know the appropriate tonality to utilize, if you do not know how to make them feel comfortable to have an effective conversation, they're never going to then expose to you what the root core objections are. Objections are just concerns, right? So if you are triggering sales resistance, they just go into fight or flight mode, and they're looking to do just that, just fight or flight you. So if you're getting hard shutdowns, if you're getting people fighting you or just, getting off the phone, that's fight or flight mode, right? That's because you're triggering sales resistance. So it's not just about understanding the objective of the calls. That's important. It's not just about understanding psychology. So we match the right messaging. It's also about understanding tonality, pre-frames, and reframes throughout those conversations. So that way we can have highly effective conversations. So you got to make sure that you are mastering this skill set when it comes to this. Okay, so then tip number 5 to go out there and maximize conversions on cold leads and converting those into clients is making sure that your CRM set up appropriately. So I'm not saying that you have to have a CRM. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm kind of saying that you have to have a CRM. If you want to maximize on your ability to go out there and increase your conversions and have the overall success that you possibly can, look, yeah, you can go out there, and I know and the reason why I'm bringing this up is sometimes I'll get pushback because there's some names, like I've had him on the podcast, Quintavious Burdett. And I haven't talked to him in a couple of years. Maybe he's using a CRM now that he's expanding a team and whatnot. But there's some people out there in our industry that have created, good success that maybe don't use CRMs when it comes to a specific piece of technology that they're using in the way that we think of CRMs. But everybody's using a CRM. Right? Everybody's got a customer relationship management system, whether that be, notepads, Excel spreadsheets, using their address book inside their smartphone. But when we look at this, technology exists, systems exist to allow us to be more effective and efficient, to allow us to ensure that nothing slips through the cracks, to ensure our processes happen the same way each and every single time. So if you want to ensure that you are optimizing every element of this, like plugging into a great CRM is the best way to do this. Now, I know for some of you, you're like, oh, Josh, well, you own a CRM company called Perfect Storm. Look, I'm not here on the pod. I mean, how often do you guys hear me plug Perfect Storm on this podcast? Yeah, I mean, once in a while I'll talk about it, but I'm never using this I don't use this podcast as a way to go out there and, like try to sell you guys. I mean, all I offer on this podcast is free crap. I don't try to sell you my coaching program. I don't try to sell you my, Perfect Storm software on this podcast. I'm here to deliver free information to an industry that's changed every aspect of my life and to give back to this industry in the same way that my mentors gave back to me when I was in a position where I could never pour back to them from a mind, give back to them from a, an information standpoint or compensate them for the time. Like I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have amazing human beings that took me under their wings and poured into me in the way that they did when I could never reciprocate. So I always promised myself early on in my career that, hey, if I ever get to that level where I create an element of success where others, are coming to me to ask for advice, ask for help and whatnot, I'm always going to do everything I can to reciprocate like my mentors did to me and pour into them. So I'm saying this in that I'm not saying to get a CRM because I'm trying to sell you shit. I'm saying this, I don't care what platform that you're using. I just do not know how it is possible to maximize and optimize lead conversion without having a great CRM dialed in. Now, the reason why so many struggle with CRMs is because they don't understand truly what they are. They don't understand truly what they do, and they don't take the time to set them up appropriately. Look, you've got like a system is only as good as the instructions that you feed it. You got to take the time to learn it. You got to take the time to make sure that you feed it the right instructions based on your overall strategy. So like how I've got my CRM set up, I'm not talking about, Perfect Storm. I'm talking about, me using it because any client can set up how, however they want to set it up. But I make sure I've got it categorized and organized correctly. I make sure I've got the right instructions fed to it per lead source. So let me just give examples. Okay, I get a lead source that comes in. I just cue the buttons. Boom, it automatically puts this lead source. Let's just send a 1,000-day email text strip campaign. Then I click another button. It automatically tasks me for my follow-up calls. So maybe I'm calling that lead that same day, then every other day for the first 14 days, then every 21 days for the first year until that initial conversation happens. Then once I identify goal and timeline, set appointment if able or appropriate, if unable or appropriate, because I know goal and timeline. Now I can, switch that up appropriately. So like, okay, every lead that I have will be on my universal no time frame established call tasking campaign. And then from there, let's just say once I've established it, I've got under 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 12 plus months. So then that way I just click a button and it just tells me, well, I got to call them every 30 days or every 45 days, so forth. Or let's just say I get a past client. I just click a button. It's going to queue off for me to call them for the next 20 years on what my call fault protocol is. So I never accidentally drop the ball on a past client to maximize conversions, or maximize repeat referral business. Or let's just say, because part of conversions is, okay, like we talked about earlier, you got a 2-step sales process, right? So number one, you got to set the appointment. So your lead gen and lead follow-up exists to set the appointment. Number two, you got to go out there and conduct that appointment to convert them into clients. If you don't nail both those parts of the process, sorry, you're going to have low conversions. You're not going to be able to maximize this stuff, right? So then, okay, we all know that you're going to have a percentage. Industry average is 50% appointment set to no-show, which is crap, right? You don't want to have a 50% appointment set to no-show. You want to have like a 75% appointment set to conduction rate, meaning 25% no-show is really where you want to be. So average 50, percent, like you want to be at 75% appointment set or show rate. To show rate, right? But then from there, like even if you have your crap together and you are dialed in and operating at pro level, you're still going to have about a 25% no-show rate. Let's just say on a buyer consult. Listing presentations will be higher. But then from there, okay, well, there's still a big opportunity for rebooks to maximize conversions. So, okay, when I get appointment set that no-shows me on a buyer consult, I just click a button. And then it's like, boom, queues off my 26-day 12-touch follow-up protocol. So it's going to automatically email them 6 times, automatically task me 6 times to call them over the next 26 days to get that appointment rebooked. So in our, like, okay, we can set up all these different detours. So it becomes like my technology assistant. Now, you can try to keep all this crap in your head and remember all this stuff. But if you're doing a lot of lead gen, it becomes an impossibility. I'm not saying that you can't have success, without it, but you're going to have to take a lot more action and you're going to have to run and gun a hell of a lot harder. You're just choosing to run against the wind and have more resistance than is necessary. Okay. So then tip number 6 on how to convert. So this is the last tip on how to convert is tracking your overall numbers, right? So when I say tracking your numbers, okay, per lead source, we got to track number of leads, number of reach outs. So meaning phone calls. So number of reach outs, number of conversations, number of appointments set, number of appointment conductions, clients, closings. That gives you your overall conversions. So we know what your baseline is. We know if you're doing a good job, bad job, bad job, average, good, exceptional. But then from there, we can then also see, because it's not just your overall conversions, so this number of leads, this number of appointments set, now we can also sit there and see, because each one of those numbers. So like, okay, my reach out to conversation rate. Okay, I know I want that, 10% or above. It's below 10%. Okay, we got a red flag. We got a problem. It's either going to be not calling with enough frequency or calling at the wrong time or a potential spam issue. Then from there, okay, our conversation to appointment set rate per lead source is going to differ, but we got to make sure that that's where it needs to be. Now, if that's below where it should be for you, okay, we know it's either, you don't have the right scripting, you're not selling the value of the appointment, you're not having the right tonality, that's going to be more of a skill set issue, right? Then from there, okay, if your appointment set to conduction rate is lower than it needs to be, okay, we know that you're either not selling the value of the appointment, you're not making them feel comfortable enough, you're setting the appointment too far out, or you're not confirming it appropriately. Well, then from there, if your appointment conduction to client taken ratio is too low, or isn't where it should be at world-class numbers, then we know it's a skill set issue, right? Like you got something flawed within your presentation. We got to work on that. So, each of these different numbers can make a world of difference in your overall conversions. I do this with coaching clients all the time. Where once they start tracking their numbers and I assess their data, review their data for them, okay, then from there, it's like, well, I can get them to double their business or more without having to generate more leads, without having to work more hours by just doing the same shit they're already doing. But this just allows us to laser focus on what either process, strategy, or skill set in that equation needs to be improved upon so we can get them dialed in. Because like you always hear me say on this podcast, the quickest way to 2x, 3x, or 4x your business isn't to double, triple, or quadruple the hours that you're working or the number of leads that you're generating. So you get twice as good, 3 times as good, as 4 times as good at the things that you're already doing. And so let's just say, because this happens a lot internally on my team when I'm working with my agents. Let's just say I got a new agent at this lead source and they're converting at 4%. But then maybe, top agents on that lead source within my organization are converting at 16%. Okay, well, there's the person at 4%, do they need more leads? They might think so initially in their head, but no, what I really need to get them to do is master the process and master their skill set so I can get them converting at 16%, which our other top people in that lead source are doing. Now they've just 4x their income. Or let's just say, okay, the person converting at 16% on that same lead source, same team, same system, same market, same coaching, everything's the same. That just means they're going to make 4 times the amount of money is the other agent at a 4% conversion. Yeah, right. Because they have the process and skill set that much more dialed in. But if you're not tracking this data, it makes it, now we're just throwing a bunch of shit against the wall and hoping something sticks. So that's why that is so important. Okay, so let me just go through real quick and recap these. Okay, so number 1, getting your world-class listing and buyer presentation in place so we can maximize conversions. Because remember, we are in a 2-step sales process. All your lead gen and lead follow-up exists to set the appointment. On the appointment is where you need to convert them into a client. Both things must happen for you to have successful, to be successful at getting clients to get closings. Okay, so then number 2, understanding timeline per lead source. This allows you to know. So I'm thinking about from when you obtain that lead until boom, they become a client. How much time is in between those two, point A to point B on average per lead source. So this, we are giving things enough time. We have enough time. We know then how long and how frequent and which mediums we must follow up to maximize conversions. Okay, number 3 is understanding psychology per lead source. So this way we can make sure that we're matching your scripting and your messaging based on that lead source, because how you speak to different lead sources 100% can differentiate. Then in addition to psychology, I know I kind of added, I should have talked about 7 points, not 6 points, but I talked about this just with psychologists. Make sure that you're also, this comes down to skill set. You're mastering your pre-frames, mastering tonality. So you're just really mastering your ability to reduce or eliminate sales resistance so you can have effective conversations. Okay, number 4 is universal phone call frameworks, understanding those, the overall objectives, because appointments get set on the phones. So we got to know what those objectives are so we can navigate those conversations. Number 5 was getting your CRM dialed in so you can just ensure things don't slip through the cracks. Use this as your technology assistant to optimize lead conversions. And tip number 6 is tracking your numbers so you know your overall conversions and know what areas of improvement and bottlenecks you have within your business. Because the quickest way to 2x, 3x, or 4x your business isn't to 2x, 3x, or 4x your activities. It's to 2x, 3x, 4x your skill set. So you get twice as good, 3 times as good, 4 times as good at the things that you are already doing inside your business. Dial these things in. I know this isn't the magic pill. I know this isn't 6-minute abs like everybody's looking for. I know we're an instant gratification society. None of that shit exists. This is what the pros do. They dial this stuff in. They don't look for the shortcuts because the shortcuts don't exist. They dial this stuff in, and that's why they become the pros. So these are the things that you got to get dialed in. And look, if your real estate business is not exactly where you need it to be and you do not know the exact strategy, blueprint, plan that you need to implement to get you from where you're at to where you want to go, I encourage and invite you to schedule a 100% free, 100% zero pressure Zoom coaching call with me personally. And on this is going to be a 60-minute Zoom coaching call with me personally, you and I. And here's what we're going to break down: where your business is currently at, what your 12-month goals are, what your long-term goals and visions are for your real estate business, what you are currently doing, what your biggest obstacles are. Once I've gathered that information about you and your situation, then from there, I'm able to craft what my best recommended strategy is for you to get you exactly from where you're at to where you want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient, profitable manner possible. Now, these free coaching calls are only for real estate professionals. I don't care what level that you're at, whether you're an individual real estate agent, if you're a real estate team leader or a real estate brokerage owner. I got you dialed in. I promise you I can get you from where you're at to where you want to go and make sure that you have the best blueprint strategy plan. So we're going to eliminate that guesswork so you're able to operate like a horse with the blinders on, knowing exactly what you must execute on. Now we have an hour. So I'm not going to necessarily be able to show you how to do all these things, because to do the how, that might take 100 hours, right? But this way, at least you know exactly what to focus and allocate your time, energy, and self-development on to get you from where you're at to where you want to go. The reason why I'm stressing that this is only for real estate agents, real estate team leaders, and real estate broker owners is I know that there's other entrepreneurs that are watching, listening to this podcast. If in another field, please don't schedule this call. I stay in my lane, so, I get a lot of not a lot of, but, once a week it happens where, I don't know, entrepreneurs and completely unrelated products, and niches will reach out to me on these free coaching calls. If I see that you are not in real estate and you're another, I'm just probably going to just cancel the meeting and just because I want to allocate as much time as I possibly can to those that I know I can serve. Right. So, and I like to stay in my lane. I know real estate inside now. That's what I know. So if this is something that you guys want to take advantage of, go to www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. Once you schedule it, there's going to be a really important quick video to watch. Make sure to watch that whole entire video because I go through just some really important tips to ensure that you are most prepared for this coaching call. So that way we can maximize and optimize our time together to ensure that you get the most out of it. Last thing that I'll say is I've got a very strict kind of show up policy for these. So look, I'm here to pour into you. I'm not here to waste your time. I promise you. I'm going to do everything I can to make this the best hour that you've ever invested in your real estate business. I will be there. I will be 5 minutes early, but if you no-show me or if you cancel like right before the appointment, now there's going to be a reschedule link in there where you can reschedule, if things come up. But like if you no-show me with, or if you cancel within an hour before, or you no-show me, at that, that just shows me that you don't respect my time, right? Like if you need to reschedule because you're not feeling well, whatever, you're going to know an hour before, but if by rescheduling, within that hour before, I mean, obviously that makes it very difficult for me to adjust my calendar, makes it where others couldn't take advantage of that time. Or if you just no-show me, I have a special tag that goes in my CRM, based on that, and I won't allow you to schedule another one. You'll then have to pay me $1,000 for, that's what my, our consulting fee is for one-on-one coaching clients. So if you, no-show me and you do want to reschedule one of these, I'll do it, but you're going to have to pay me $1,000 up front first. So, and I'm happy to do these for free. I love doing them, love pouring into you guys. I just ask that you respect my time, make sure to show up. Cause look, I take your time serious. I'm not here to waste it. I'm here to pour into you. So anyway, hope this was helpful. Keep kicking ass, keep crushing it. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.